Hey, what's up, everyone? On this episode, I'm going to be going over the entry requirements for traveling to Thailand in 2023. As well, if you stay to the end, I'll go over different visa options you have for staying in the country longer term. All right, here we go. So some great news. You do not need to show proof of vaccination. There's no more quarantine, no more testing, no special hotels you got to stay in. And I was actually just in Thailand in November of 2022, and barely anybody were wearing any masks. So things are getting back to normal. It's hustle and bustle. So it's a good time to travel again. All right, next thing, travel insurance. You actually don't need to get travel insurance to be let into Thailand, but I highly recommend it. So I use Nomad Insurance by Safety Wing, and other travelers use this service as well. It costs about $50 USD for me for 28 days. And it's just in case anything bad happens. It'll save you a couple thousand, or God forbid, a couple 100,000. You always read in like the Tiger Bangkok Post about people starting GoFundMe campaigns where the families are trying to repatriate somebody who's in the hospital in Thailand back to their home country in the hospital. So it's just for peace of mind, 50 USD for a few weeks. I highly recommend it. Now, this video is targeted towards the Anglosphere, so United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand. And the reason why I say that is because there's one caveat to this. When you visit Thailand, if you're coming from a country that requires testing, or when you leave Thailand, you're going to a country that still requires testing, like China or India, then you still need travel insurance. But for everybody else, you don't need a travel insurance. So for the Anglosphere, for Europe, we're good. All right, next thing, proof of onward travel to your next port of destination. Now, this is proof that you'll actually be leaving the country. If you have a round trip ticket, this is your ticket wherever you came from, ticket back home. And every country actually requires you to have this, but most of the time immigration officers don't ask you for it. So I've actually only been asked it once, and that was in Colombia, but they can always deny you. So it's better to be safe than sorry. So like I said, if you have a round trip ticket, you don't need to worry about this. But if you only have a one-way ticket, you have three options. So the first two I don't recommend. I only recommend the last option. So the first option is you just risk it and you don't have any proof. Most of the time, immigration officers won't ask you for it. So you're risking it. Second option is you can actually use a service online that will sell you a fake ticket. Immigration officers aren't able to discern whether a ticket is valid or not because there's so many different travel companies. And it'll cost you about 15, 20 USD for a ticket like this. And the third option, the only one I recommend, is to actually buy a bus ticket from in Thailand near the border that starts at near the border into another country. And this you can always get this refunded for a credit or for an actual full refund if you don't end up taking the bus. And it's better to do that by the border, not from Bangkok, because Bangkok to any border is very long. And most of the time when people do go past the border, they mostly go into Cambodia or Laos and not Myanmar/Burma or Malaysia for security concerns. But that technique is what I will be using for my proof of onward travel to my next port of destination. All right, next thing. So that's actually everything you need to get into Thailand. And when you arrive, you'll get a 30-day visa on arrival with possibility to extend that for another 30 days. So to do that, once you're in Thailand, during the first week or second week, just go to the immigration office, look presentable, look good, smell good. Make sure you look like you're bringing value into the country, so they will accept and give you a 30-day extension. And like I said, it can only be done in person. But what happens if you actually want to stay in the country for longer than 60 days? So that's where visa resets or border runs come in. So you can actually do 2 land border runs per calendar year or 6 border runs by air per calendar year. So a border run is by land is where you'll actually go to a physical border, you'll exit Thailand and enter the other country and then come back into Thailand. Or for by air, it's, you just fly to Vietnam and then fly back. So there's actually, of course, we know how to do it by air, but if you want to do it by land, there's actually companies that will help you do this. So you'll take a bus with them. They'll take you to the border. You stamp out of Thailand, stamp it to, let's say, Cambodia, and then walk around the block, then stamp out of Cambodia, and then stamp back into Thailand. And of course, there'll be some fees there. And then the company will take you back on the bus to wherever you came from. Now, This if you combine this will, so 2 land border runs plus the initial 60 days, that's 4 months. But it's like I said, you can do 2 land border runs per calendar year. So if you start that in September, and then so at the end of one calendar year and then go into the next calendar year, you can actually get it for 6 months. And then with each of these land border runs, these visa resets, there's possibility that you get extensions for that. So you can stay in the country for 10 months if you do it correctly. And then if you do it by air, I've heard stories of people actually just traveling to Thailand over many years because they'll stay in Thailand for a couple months, then they'll fly to Vietnam, and then they'll fly back. And as long as you're flying, it shows to the Thailand government that you actually have money and you're bringing value into the country, and you'll be helping the economy. And that's what they want. All right. So, but let's say that you don't want to do these border runs. You just want to stay in the country longer term. That's when visas come in. So there's a whole bunch of different versions. There is a retired visa. You have to be at least 50 years old. There's the elite investment visa. So this one is if you're going to be investing money into the country. So you got to be quite wealthy for that one. There's a volunteer visa, religious visa. And then there's some more interesting ones for me are the scuba diving visa, the education visa for language learning, where you can learn a language like Thai. There's other options as well, or a Muay Thai fighting visa. So for the last three, scuba diving, education visa for language learning, Muay Thai, you actually need to apply for it in conjunction with the company, the school that will be teaching you. So for all these visas, you can either do it with a company that specializes in getting visas, all these different types of visas, or you can go directly to a school, like a language learning school. You can just find them online by typing it in, and that will actually help you to get a language learning visa. And so I'll go more in depth on the language learning visa in a second. One thing I want to mention is that the scuba diving one, and this might apply to the education visa for language learning and the Muay Thai one as well, that people have used it to actually stay in the country for multiple years but multiple visas. So to go more to detail about that is the scuba diving one. You get a visa and it'll be for the first few levels of scuba diving, of learning it. And then when that's done, you apply for another scuba diving visa to learn the more advanced level. And then when that's done, you go on to learning to become an instructor for scuba diving. So, and that might actually apply for Muay Thai and language learning as well, because there's different levels in all of these. So, as I mentioned, I'll go into the language learning visa in more detail. So for this one, it actually lasts 90 days, the visa, but it can be extended for up to a year. And you need to extend it every 90 days, so every 3 months. And each time you do that, you need to pay a fee as well as report your address to immigration. So one thing that you should know is that when you apply for the visa, as well as every 3 months, you should also get a re-entry permit. So this allows you to leave Thailand and come back in without your visa becoming null and void. If you don't have it and you leave, then you come back, then you'll have to apply for a new visa, and you might not get it. So it's good to get the reentry permit. You can either get a single reentry permit for 1,000 baht, which is about 30 USD, or a multiple reentry permit, which is about 4,000 baht or $115 USD. So might as well buy a single reentry in case there's you have to go back home for some reason, or you just get bored. Maybe you want to go visit Bali or the Philippines. So for 30 USD, you should get it for a peace of mind. All right, everyone. On this episode, we went over the entry requirements for traveling to Thailand in 2023, as well as different visa options for staying in the country longer term. If you could like this video and subscribe to my channel, I'd greatly appreciate it, as well as ring that bell to get notifications about all my new videos. All right, peace, everyone.